Howdy, and welcome to Texas A&M's Virtual Earth Month. We're so happy that you decided to join us here again today. This is the fourth event here in our virtual offerings. And today we have Mary and Gabby, some interns in our program, and they're going to be talking to us about zombies, zombie arguments, that is. So definitely really looking forward to learning more about that. And just before we get started, some housekeeping. You should definitely watch this presentation in side-by-side mode. I'm sorry, it looks like the PowerPoint was off sorts there. That's my fault. You should definitely watch this presentation in side-by-side mode. Also, the live transcript is turned on. Please ask questions in the chat. And also, this is being recorded. And as you are probably already aware, if you're here, we are giving away prizes for Virtual Earth Month. Some really great prizes. You could win a full moon dinner to Ronin, a microgreen kit, a Yeti cooler, all kinds of great things. You do that by collecting code words. If you've seen all these talks, you know what the deal is. I'm not going to go over it again, but that's what you got to do. Make sure you pay attention and look for the code words. So with that being said, I am going to turn it over to Mary and Gabby, and they're going to take us away and teach us more about zombies. So whenever you are ready.
All right, howdy Ags. Let's see. If you need our code word, I believe our first code word is zombie. Howdy Ags, welcome to your 3:30 climate change news. I'm Mary.
And I'm Gabby.
And right now we will be talking about today's pressing news, how to kill a zombie. Zombies are everywhere. Zombie arguments, that is. So zombie arguments are arguments that just won't die, no matter how often or how thoroughly they're debunked. And we asked a few zombies what they thought.
Hey, who are you?
What?
Can I ask you a question?
No. Go ahead.
What are your thoughts on climate change?
Climate change? Climate change? Big environment. It's big, okay? Climate has never been changing, never will. In fact, it's been 11 degrees more than it is now. You don't want to know why? Probably some like solar intensity or something, but no, it's all a corporate scheme. Climate change is not real. Wait. Volcanoes. They have lava. It makes it warmer. Climate change is caused by the volcanoes. That's why it's all naturals, not human cause, okay?
Are you guys talking about climate change? I don't actually think that's real because the other day I was in my backyard and honestly, I saw. Look, I'm gonna show you a picture right now. See, there's a polar bear right there in my backyard. There's no way that it's affecting the ice. There's no way it's melting glacier caps. No way.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Make it quick. I'm on the phone. What are your thoughts on climate change? Okay, well, I mean, it's not really my issue. It's not happening now. I'm not really doing it. That's for 200, 300, 400 years from now. And to be honest, I really don't want my tax dollars being paid for all this crap. I got somewhere to go. Sorry. Hey, who are you?
What?
Sorry. Whoa, those are so scary. But no need to fear. We're going to teach you how to debunk some of these common myths. Let me see if it works. That's you right now. So the first argument we have is the climate changes all the time, and this is all just natural. Well, the graph that I have here shows the warming we've experienced since the last ice age to our future. And as you can see, the same warming that we've experienced over the last 10,000 years is the same experience or the same warming that we're going to experience within the next 100 years. So although yes, it's natural that the climate is changing, it's never going to happen at the rate that it's happening now.
Could you actually go back to the meme for a little bit? All right, I just want to stop in and say this is in no way condoning physical violence against climate deniers. It is purely symbolic. So please don't let that be your takeaway from this meme that we included. All right, you can go back. Okay, so the argument with climate changes all the time, humans have nothing to do with it. Over the course of Earth's 4.5 billion year history, the climate has changed a lot. That is true. But the rapid warming that we're seeing now can't be explained by natural cycles of warming and cooling. The kind of changes that would normally happen over hundreds of thousands of years are happening in decades. So this much faster warming corresponds with levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which have been increasing since the Industrial Revolution, as we saw in the graph on the previous slide. That point where it like shoots straight up, that's right after the Industrial Revolution. So when people talk about climate change today, they mean anthropogenic, human-made climate change. This is warming of the Earth's average temperature as a result of human activity, such as burning coal, oil, and gas to produce energy. And now to address the sun and volcanoes argument. So volcanic eruptions release large amounts of ash and sulfur gases into the atmosphere. The sulfur mixes with water vapor and actually becomes sulfur aerosols. And these aerosols act like reflectors that decrease the amount of solar radiation entering the Earth's atmosphere. And this actually ends up cooling the temperature. It kind of creates a shield blocking the solar radiation, so that argument that volcanic eruptions are causing the Earth to warm up is false. Blaming climate change on solar variability is an argument that can simply be refuted by the fact that there's no real evidence supporting this claim. There would need to be an observed sustained increase in solar variation, which has not happened. So we also have a graph showing this. In the graph, you can see it's kind of a cyclical pattern with the solar variation, the solar constant seen there over the years. And in order to link it to the increase in global temperature, there would have to be a positive trend kind of corresponding with the levels of carbon dioxide and temperature rise that we've seen over the past few decades. And we can't see that. So linking that to the rise in temperature just is not a solid argument. All right, for the second argument, polar bears aren't threatened by climate change. So the life of a polar bear revolves around sea ice. As the top of the world warms, its ice cap thaws and exposes the ocean beneath it. The dark water absorbs more of the sun's energy than the reflective white ice. So the Arctic heats up even more, kind of triggering a cycle that is causing it to warm twice as fast as the rest of the planet. And Arctic sea ice is declining by an area the size of Indiana annually. We originally had Ireland as an example, but we realized that most people are more familiar with the size of Indiana than Ireland in the United States. So submarine and satellite measurements show that the average thickness of the ice has also declined by nearly half since 1958. And as the sea ice disappears, polar bears are being forced to hunt in more heavily populated southern regions. So while more may be seen by humans, they're still being threatened. So a lot of people, the argument is that they're seeing more polar bears in northern cities, but it's just because they're being forced out of their previous habitats.
All right, so the last argument is that climate change is a problem of the distant future. And well, newsflash, climate change is happening right now. So even if we don't really see the problems and they aren't affecting you personally, they are in some way. They are just creeping up on you. And once they're there, it's hard to go back. So the IPCC in 2015 said that the warming of the climate system is unequivocal. And we know this through statistics by measuring the global surface temperature. And we've already experienced 17 of the warmest temperatures in our lifetimes, which is scary. And the temperatures we're experiencing now are probably the coolest temperatures we're going to experience for like the rest of our lives, which is really scary. So one example of like climate change affecting us right now, if you live in Texas, you are very familiar with Hurricane Harvey. And many scientists claim that the effects of this hurricane were amplified by climate change. A warmer ocean and warmer atmosphere will make the hurricanes hold more moisture, which increases rainfall, which made flooding in Houston 15% more intense. This also cost the city $125 billion worth of damages. So even if you aren't directly experiencing the effects of climate change, it is making you poor and it is coming out of your taxes, which is another reason to start caring now. The last thing we wanted to leave this off with is you don't need to be a climate scientist to debunk these myths. So we provided you with a couple of quick comebacks if someone says one of these silly little myths to you and you're like, oh, I don't really know what to say. I know you're wrong. I'm obviously right, but you're definitely wrong. It's important to, in order to get people to care about climate change, it's important to link it to the parts that will affect them. So you can connect over shared values, whether that be religion or the same institutions that you are a part of. You can always get them to care about climate change. So
yeah, don't be disheartened if these conversations don't go the way that you want them to go. Just always focus on the things that you guys have in common. Hit common ground with your conversations. Don't let them get to you. You guys are passionate about something that matters, and that should be what matters. So.
All right, so I think we're ready for the Q&A, and if you have any myths that you'd like us, specific myths you'd like us to debunk, please let us know.
All right, thank you, Mary. Thank you, Gabby. I really appreciated learning more about zombie arguments. Definitely like the way that you put the whole presentation together. It was really fun and clever. So that leads me to my first question. One thing I noticed that you incorporated into your presentation was some humor. What do you think is kind of the role of comedy in when we're trying to teach people about climate change?
Well, obviously, this is a very heavy issue, so making it a little more lighthearted than impending doom can help to open the door to more conversation with people. People are usually more open to listening if you kind of are able to bring a lighthearted approach to heavy conversation. So definitely.
You want to add anything to that, Gabby?
Oh, I completely agree. You said humor. It made me think of a joke where it's such a niche joke, but a bunch of climate scientists are coming to a conference to listen to a presentation on climate change, obviously, and the presenter just goes up there and says, "We're doomed," and that's just everyone just goes to the bar and drinks, and drinks because there's nothing you can do, which is obviously wrong, but there's so much we can do still. But that was silly.
But yeah, so yeah, that's just kind of a way to start that conversation off and come at it from more of a lighthearted perspective. I definitely can agree. This is really a heavy topic, like you had said, Mary, and sometimes humor can kind of open the door and get more people to be involved or even care about an issue. Oftentimes comics have been at the forefront of getting people more involved in social issues and things like that. So definitely is a place for comedy and humor. As we try to tackle and confront this really serious issue, that obviously does cause a lot of stress. So why do you think that zombie arguments should be defeated? Obviously, it's not always easy, to reply when someone says something that's challenging you, or maybe they're challenging whatever it is that you have to say. But why should you, not give up? Why should you try to defeat that argument if you can?
Well, these are the most common arguments that come up against climate change. You'll see them on Facebook, you'll see them on blogs. These are just the basic arguments that people who don't know much about climate change just throw out. And on a surface level, they kind of seem like they might have some backing, but as long as you guys know basic ways to quickly put these down, you can open the conversation to more research and maybe pushing for more education on climate change. Definitely. So just there's so much more that you can know about climate change and facts, science, data, but you guys don't have to be climate scientists to have these conversations. We just wanted to focus on the most basic, most common arguments that are thrown out there, and just some also equally basic answers that you can have on deck for these arguments when they come about. So, yeah.
Great, thank you.
I guess like for me, it really disheartens me that science is always questioned, especially in this day and age, whether it had to be, it's like with COVID or with climate change, because really at the heart of it, this has been made into a political issue, and it's rather than like a scientific issue. But it shouldn't be political. We should all care about climate change, and we all need to do something about it, because at the end of the day, it's going to affect us all.
So I hear you say, that it shouldn't be a political issue. And then I also, a lot of the ways that you presented for us to help defeat a zombie argument was through, facts and science and things like that. At the same time, some people aren't always going to listen to science. So I know at the end of your talk, you mentioned that, one way to try to connect is through kind of shared values. So could you talk to us a little bit more about that? When facts don't work, how can you still try to have that conversation with somebody?
Gabby, if you want to cover that one really quickly. We also had a question in the chat. Someone asked if maybe we could go back through the slides one more time, a little more slowly, just have the slides going. But Gabby, you can cover that while we.
Which slide do you want me to go back to?
The informative slides with the arguments. Yeah.
This one?
Probably starting with the first one with the graph. And if you guys had any specific questions about stuff on the slides, feel free to ask away. Yes.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So I guess one way that you can find like a hobby, I know we had to do a project where we had to like have a hobby and see how it's affected by climate change. I did mine over coffee because I love to drink coffee. And I'm also Colombian, so I have family that grows coffee. And so it's like the way that the plants are being affected is like they need a certain amount of moisture and like cooler temperatures to grow. And so in the future, they're going to be like getting good quality coffee is going to be a lot more expensive and like hard to get. So you can always say something along the lines of like, oh, it's going to affect the food that you eat, the quality and like the quality of the food that you eat, and also just how much you pay for it. One that my friend did that like really resonated with me was how it affects sports. I did track and cross country in high school, and I remember running in the afternoon and it being so hot, and I wish that there was just like a roof or something, like air conditioning there while I ran. These like stadiums with retractable roofs are being built in cities so that professional sports teams can play during the summer. And like another thing to think about is these like the money used to pay for these sports facilities are coming out of like taxpayers' dollars. So even if I think Ben mentioned this whenever my friend presented, but it affects both you and the teams that you like to see play. And then what was the question in the chat?
Maybe I just want you to scroll through the slides.
Okay.
Did you want to add anything onto that question that Gabby just answered, Mary?
Yeah, for sure. So a personal way that I connect with people, I also am super passionate about marine sports. So surfing, the WSL. If anybody in here knows anything about pro surfing, please find me after this because nobody wants to talk about this with me. But the more frequent and intense coastal storms are affecting a lot of big surfing events. And so like that's one way that I can connect with people that I have something in common with. And like, even if it's not surfing, just like coastal recreation. So if people like enjoy boating or fishing, just you can open up a conversation by saying like, hey, like, did you know climate change actually affects this thing that you love or are passionate about? So that's just a personal way that I've connected with people in the past over hobbies.
Great, yeah, thank you. And it looks like we do have another question in the chat. And what they're asking us here is, I've heard we have until 2050 to decrease our goal emission by 50% or higher until it is too late. However, my question is this our best estimate? And if so, what actions need to be taken to meet this quota? Decrease livestock dependency, especially red meat, change the way we produce energy.
All right, so I've seen a couple of different estimations for when it's going to be too late for us to change our ways. The 2051 is definitely the closest one that I've seen. I don't know if we have an exact number. Different methods are used to make these estimations. I'm not entirely sure of the accuracy of all of these, but I do know that change is coming, and that if we don't change our ways, it will get worse before it gets better. So definitely, like some of the things you suggested, decreasing livestock dependency. I've been doing a lot of research on stuff like that. Red meat consumption, all of these contribute to the energy consumption, especially in the United States for like the beef industry. It all comes back to energy consumption. So I'm actually an engineering major, so I'm still learning a lot about green energy, but definitely that is something that we need to push for. I think with bigger companies, corporations, industries, that is where a lot of big change can happen. But on a personal level, yes, decreasing your support of companies that use these massive energy consumption methods would definitely be like something that you can do on a personal level.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, the IPCC, Gabby mentioned them earlier, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they just released another report within the last few weeks. And what they said is that human beings are the cause of climate change, and that we need to take action now. We can't wait. We need to take action right now. And the good thing is, though, we have all of the means to take steps to have a sustainable future. We know what to do. We have the technology to do it. So now it's really about the political will, the corporate will to act. That is kind of one of the most recent kind of report about when we need to act, and they're saying that the time to act is not not tomorrow, it's right now, today. All right. And do you guys have any other concluding thoughts? I think otherwise, I think we can call this a day. I did put all the code words in the chat in case anyone needs to see that. I do want to just quickly share my screen here so you can see what our next talk is going to be. So the next talk that we have is going to be tomorrow, and it's going to be at 3 p.m. It's going to be about reaching for renewables. So we definitely hope you'll join us for our final talk in this series tomorrow. But yeah, Mary and Gabby, do you have anything else that you want to conclude with?
I guess just thank you guys for coming. I love that you guys care about climate change enough to listen to what we have to say, and hope that you guys got something out of our presentation.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yep, great. Thank you all. Y'all great. Have a great day. Everyone take care. Bye.